Well, welcome back to Factorio, the Hyperbase. Since last time I have put, whoops, I'm in the wrong mode. I have finished off these stations. I have put a couple of copper trains on. They're just buffering up the smelter stacks. I have actually added a second power, well, 40 steam engines. These are full cheese in terms of the waterfill mod, but obviously we could have easily run them from here and not cheesed it at all, but we have waterfill, so we're going to cheese it. We might as well get used to that. I have upgraded this belt in its entirety back to here as red. 4 yellow lanes going into 2 red lanes is absolutely fine, so that's what we're doing. And yeah, that is pretty much up to date. We've finished all of the science that we can do with blue only, so we need to make military, and then we need to make in quick succession the purple and the yellow so that we can wrap this whole initial science up and move on to bigger and better things. So that said, I have now got the extra supply of copper, so we are going to swap this around. Basically, this one should not be coming in here anymore. We can remove it. Actually, what I'll do is we'll remove it like that. And what basically should happen is that this whole row is consumed coming up here. We'll still feed a row in from here, but it will be the least used row. We'll be using the other rows in preference to it. Rows, columns, whatever they are, the feed from this whole smelter, all 4 can come across. And I guess what we'll do then is probably use priority splitters to force the copper from down here as we go along. We need to do the same sort of thing down here. So let's advance this line a bit further to about that point. And once again we can basically zero out that one, which means we won't need that or that. Instead, this is where this smelter stack of copper will come to its conclusion. And 1 extra can come from over here in due course when it's required. And again, we will use a series of these kind of guys to prioritize output priority. That's right, the default is exactly what we want. Up here then it will probably be the opposite of what we want. Priority, as expected, is not what we want. There we go. So that sets the priority to the bottom one, so that should keep this, if we do that every 2, we should exhaust this line first. And eventually we'll have to do it with that as well. So that should be enough to support circuits for the time being. Now, the next thing on the agenda to make this happen is we're going to do military first, aren't we? So that's actually a bit easier. I was going to get into lube and so on, but we don't need to do that just yet. We need to do this one instead. So basically, we get 2 military packs. All of these others are just a single pack, but this is two times. So we only need to do basically provide 10 military science packs, which means 10 times the below. So 1 of each a second is basically the requirement. 1 piercing round, 1 of these, 1 of these, and was it grenades, was it? It is vaguely useful, I seem to remember, yes, grenades. So a grenade, a piercing round, and a gun turret every second, which is quite a lot of iron. Why we needed so much iron. And yeah, we could do with those grenades already constructed. Although we do have bots, so I guess that's an option as well. We now have auto trash slots. Excellent. We don't need 100. We don't need any. Okay, so to make shall we start with grenades? We do need to add coal to that center line. I guess it makes sense to do that as soon as possible, so let's run up here and grab some coal. I should have done this earlier. This untapped line has always been there reserved for coal when we got to the point, and we are certainly at the point now. I think the only use we have on the bus for it is the science. So there we go. Grenades. So we need 8 grenades, 8 grenade machines, 10 coal per second, that's most of this belt, 5 iron plate per second is like a half belt of iron. That shouldn't be too hard for the grenades. I have 11, that's not many. I need to get rid of all this copper that I've picked up. Red science seems like a likely option. There we go. So yeah, grenades is just coal and iron. It's very simple. Coal and iron coming in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Grenades. Now, piercing rounds, copper and steel and firearms. Firearms, we're going to need another 4 iron, so we can probably use the same iron to make the firearms, but the piercing round magazines also need copper and steel. Well, I could move all of this. Like so. And now let's get rid of that because it's just clogging up my inventory space. So that would mean that the second one would be coal. Then we would continue iron on. Is this even going to work is the question. We need 3 piercing round magazines. Machines, we probably only need 1 of these actually, and then 3, 1, 2, oops, and I need more of the assembly machines, of course. Game rather, it will take more than just pressing T to start new research. We actually need more packs ready to research. That's what I did with my car, I must have picked it up. So, grenades, bullets. How do we get bullets into these machines? You know what, it's not the right ratio, but there's no particular reason why we need to have a perfect ratio for these things. What we can do is have the fancy ammo there, bullets, fancy ammo, bullets, fancy ammo, and I don't think yes, that one doesn't actually need the iron, but it does need the others, so that's alright. And we can output onto here. Where, of course, we will do something like that to ensure that the grenades go on the other side. So that's fancy ammo, that's crappy ammo, that's fancy ammo, that's crappy ammo, and that's fancy ammo. Don't need that, but it saves mucking around. We can just do direct insert now, like so. And we can also do that and that, and actually that means that we could have these come down like so, so that that one can pick them up like that. Something like that. These guys And I think I'm going to bring the coal in here and no further, because I don't see a whole lot of point in it going further. I don't know why I've pushed all these machines forward this far. They could probably be back over this way a little bit. Never mind. I guess it could start cramping me for space. Alright, we'll do it. Where is something I don't need? I can bring them back to about there. The blue has sort of pushed up further than it needed to go. At the very least, it should be in line with that, I think. Which is that. Throw you away to give me some space. Okay, so that is coal. So we've actually taken the coal slightly too far at this point. We are going to need something like that. Coal. Yes, this contraption is probably not what I'm after either. I want iron coming through that one. So I mean, if anything, this lot should be moved to this side, and then I can have a normal iron come off this one, which I think is what we will do. Let's get another quick blueprint of that. Do that, and then we can do that. And we can also, whoops. We can also rip out, yeah, that's probably the best way of doing this. Just to rip out that and go back to our standard version, and wow, we've got a lot of we have a lot of iron plate on us now. So these machines like iron, so they're going to get some. There we go. That's gotten rid of the iron. Let us get some power happening. There we go. Well, these need the long-handed inserters as well, of course. Now, we also need copper and steel. How much do we actually need? It's 5 and 1, so that's not too terrible. I guess copper can probably come out on this one, which would be here. And steel can probably use that one. So steel is going to want to 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is going to get a bit awkward very quickly. Do we have enough length there? Yes, we do. That's very good. Now we've killed coal. Huh. Right, steel is going to have to do something a little bit yucky. Come out the other side, basically. And finally, for these components, we need copper. And there you have it. That is 2 of the 3 components for our military. Now, the final component is gun turrets. They also use copper, but most of the copper that's been used up there would have already will already be expended, I think. Is that so? Well, we're going to have a new row of it anyway. How long? So they take 8. We need gear wheels. We need 10 gear wheels a second. How long do gear wheels take? 10 a second is 5 machines. So 5 machines making gear wheels. And then 8 machines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 making the turrets. This is going to start churning through iron pretty quick, because that's a basically 1.5, well, yellow belt, which, you know, okay, maybe we should be on red belt at this point. And you guys need even more, don't you? A further 20 iron. So it's actually 3 belts of iron need to come in here. And a belt of copper. Okay, 3 belts of iron and a belt of copper. The copper can be up there. 1, 2, 3. Wow, we haven't left enough space. Who would have thought that, huh? Well, you know what I'm going to do, don't you? We don't need that anymore. I actually will put it down there. That lets me move that belt down one. So this is a belt of copper. No, I'm not doing this to justify having such a big base, or such a big bus rather. But if you can do it on yellow belt, then you can expand when you go to red belt, if you so needed to. These are going to have to provide somehow like so, and they're going to have to output out to here. By the time we get to here, we should be down to 2 belts or so. So the copper can certainly come in. Something like that. So how much are you using? You are using 4 iron plate a second. So 1, 2, 3, and at this point we need a priority splitter, output priority, right, and you also, because that's virtually a whole belt at this point. And then as we come through here, same again, we should be down to a belt and a half basically, so there'll be a tiny drizzle at best along there. Belt and a half coming along here. How much do each of these machines consume? 20 iron plate every 8 seconds, which is 2.5 iron plate each a second. So 2.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, about this point is where we may as well have a priority splitter, and pretty much all that remains will go down there. Gun turrets. So that's a very thirsty operation. We need more blue inserters. And yes, I can certainly see why people like to just blueprint this stuff so they can just slap it down, especially if you're doing the same thing over and over again. It is certainly easier if you use red belt for these very thirsty sciences. Okay, so I can still do that. I want to take it from there. maybe. Just for argument's sake. Now these things are producing, well, how much is it? Is it 10? 10 iron gear wheels, so they're not all going to fit on one side of the belt. We need to do something like that. What's your formula again? Iron plate, copper plate. Okay. Let me just see if I go. I moved that one more, I wouldn't have to take it out of one of these, but that shouldn't matter. I'll do that. I don't like taking off the corner. We're committed to it now, and here we go. So 3 lots of iron. How are we going to do that? Yeah, they're coming through from here. Clearly one will come from below, and we need to revise this so that we can get another extraction out of it. In the most efficient way possible. I don't think this is the most efficient way. It is a way, but it's certainly not the most efficient way. Well, first things first, we want this one to go in there. That's basically a given. We need some undergrounds. Yellow underground. We might need some more power poles while we're here actually, so let's do that as well. So that's one belt of the iron. Now, I can set this up so that that goes through there. which is just up to about there. And let's see. Kind of thinking the only real way to do it is to do that again and back this one up like so. A little bit messy, but there you go. We now have our 3 lines of iron coming through. What's power doing now? It's very quiet. This is taking directly out of there, which is why this is coming out a little bit shattered. I am a little bit surprised here. We don't actually seem to be getting as much of up there as I would have thought we should. Maybe this would work better if it was further back. Oh, these don't have an exit. That's definitely an issue. So if that go down like so. That wrapped down, and we need 10 machines for making 2 military science a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could actually space these, and maybe I will because we have the ability to do so. 1, 2, 1, 2, that's 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8, there we go, 10. And as you can see, the inserters are fully powered without needing quite so many poles this time. Let's put military science on these. Military science. And let us get some inserters happening. And of course the red inserters as well. And finally, we can now run our military science up to join with blue. like this. There it is. First military science off the rack. Have a look at P. According to that, well, it should be, these are 0.75. It should be basically 90 per minute. And as soon as they start coming through here, we can start doing some new research. Maybe something fairly simple, like flamethrowers. How are our supplies of resources holding out? Looks like everything is fine. This sort of seems to be working. Certainly there's enough copper. I might have to check each machine in detail, possibly between episodes. Here you go, flamethrower has already started. This will slowly make its way down. Probably won't take particularly long to finish. But that's all we've got time for this episode. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.